So let's look at writing the equation of a hyperbola. Okay, so our hyperbola is going to have a center of -1, 4, a horizontal conjugate axis of length 8, and it's going to pass through the point, 2, -3. Now, if you recall, it's actually the direction of the transverse axis that tells me which variable comes first. So you notice here they're saying it's the horizontal conjugate axis. Okay, so that means that the transverse axis must be vertical. Okay, so if it's vertical, that's in the y direction, that means that the y variable is going to come first. So when I write my form, it's going to be y minus k squared over a squared minus x minus h squared over b squared, and that's going to equal 1. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my center here in for h and k. Okay, so I'm just putting in my center. So y, k is 4, so y minus 4 squared, okay, over a squared, minus my x coordinate of my center is -1, so this becomes x minus a -1, or x plus 1 squared over b squared, and then that equals 1. Okay. The other thing they tell me here is has length 8. Remember, that's the conjugate axis, has length 8, so that will, from there I can figure out that a is half of that. Okay, so a is 8 over 2, which is 4. Okay, so when I come down here, my a is going to be 4, so my next step is y minus 4 squared, I don't know what a is, over a squared, minus x plus 1 squared over a 9, oh, I'm sorry, this should say b, sorry, not a. Okay, so b is 8 over 2, which is equal to 4, because it goes with the conjugate axis, so that's b. Okay, so this will be over 4 squared equals 1. Okay, now I have one thing left. I have to solve for in my equation, this a, and I have 1 point. Okay, so my point is 2, -3. So my next step is I'm going to go to my solver. I'm going to put this in the solver. Okay, and then I'm going to let x equal 2. Y is going to be -3. Okay, and then I'm going to solve for a. And we're doing all of this over here in the solver. So I'm going to get to my solver. Okay, so now we're ready to use our solver. Remember, it's in the math, and then the last item is the solver. Okay, and so I'm just going to type in my equation I have right here in green. All right, so parentheses, y minus 4 squared, oops, I lost my negative sign, y minus 4 squared divided by a squared minus, parentheses, x plus 1 squared divided by 4 squared, and then minus 1. Okay, so we have that typed into the solver. And then we're going to put in 2 for x, make sure you get in the right spot, and -3 for y, right? Because that was the point that we have. And now I'm going to solve for a, right? So I just press the alpha, make sure you're sitting on the a, okay? And then I'm going to press alpha solve. Okay, so that gets me a equal to about 5.6. Remember that repeating 9 thing is actually not really there. It's the way the calculator ends up rounding it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, back to my main screen. Okay, I actually really want to know what a squared is, so I can press alpha a and then tell it to convert it to a fraction. Okay, and remember that's in the math menu, the very first thing. Okay, and then tell it to convert to a fraction. So after I get all done here and I solve for a, I get a equals 28/5. Okay, Now I'm ready to put that in here for this a. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite my equation. So it's going to be y minus 4 squared over a squared. Okay, but remember this is a, so hang on, let me go back over here. I only told you what a was. I actually need a squared. So we're going to do alpha a squared, but I'm going to write that as a fraction. Okay. Okay, so it's 784 over 25. Okay, so that means on the bottom I have 784 divided by 25. Okay, that's actually a squared, so I don't need to square it. And then minus x plus 1 squared divided by 4 squared, which is equal to 1. And you could have written 16 there. Okay, now if you remember how you divide fractions, you actually flip the denominator, or flip the second one, right, and multiply. So I'm going to take the reciprocal of this. That actually moves the 25 up to the numerator. So 25 times y minus 4 squared. That puts the 784 in the denominator. Okay, and then minus x plus 1 squared, and either over 16 or 4 squared, it doesn't really matter, and then equals 1. Okay, so this is my final answer. Okay, so that's the equation of the hyperbola that fits the conditions that I gave up in the problem.